everyone. My name is Johanna Sanchez, and I am the Tampa Bay Regional Director here for the Women's Business Development Council of Florida. And we have three different pillars that we work under. And so one of our pillars is what you know us most for probably is the WBEs Florida pillar, where we certify, champion, and connect women business owners. That means that the women business is 51% or more owned by women, and that the woman can control and operate and manage her own business. And our other pillar is for those of you that are interested in being a member but cannot get certified, we have what's called our growth shift membership. And with that membership, we guide you along the way of being an entrepreneur. If you're interested in doing business with government entities and trying to grow your business, there is that as well. And next week, we actually have a members only meeting. So if you are either a Growth Shift member or a WBEs Florida member, you can join us for a mastermind. If you have any help that you need or questions that you have, we do a small group session next week. And so the other pillar is from our famous CEO here, Nancy Allen, and she is also a transitional coach and has gone through some personal things and really helps women business owners as a CEO be able to not only have a successful business, but also make sure that they are handling themselves properly and doing both, being a women business owner and a woman, because we go through a lot. So today is actually one of my favorite days. It's winning strategies with the WBE, and we've had quite a few WBEs that have shared their stories, and they have been incredible to listen to. If you ever want to listen to a story or watch a video, we do have them on our YouTube channel, the WBDC. So you just search that in Google and in YouTube, and you can go ahead and watch. If there's someone that you're interested in getting to know more about, you can always go watch their video anytime. And so today, Nancy's going to be talking about a few women that have been highlighted, and we're going to be sharing their secrets. So you're getting today a lot of information from several women in one small session. So that's awesome. And now we are going to go ahead and move on to the main event, which is hosted by Nancy Allen. So Nancy Allen, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks. All right, so today we are going to be talking about winning strategies. And as was mentioned earlier, we have a regular segment on one Wednesday a month where we interview some of our WBEs and they share with us their winning strategies. So we thought that today, since we've done quite a number of these, I just kind of arbitrarily selected 5 of them. And I'm going to go over with you their 5 winning strategies. So at the end of today, you will have 25 different strategies that you can learn from. And I hope you are as impressed as I was when I was going through this, first the interviews and then the strategies. So welcome and get ready to be wowed. I'm Nancy Allen. In case you don't know me, I'm the president and chief executive officer of the WBDC Florida. And one of the things I get to do on a regular basis is coach and consult, train, do workshops, and share really great information about how to grow your business. And this session is going to be pretty jam-packed, as I said, about 25 different strategies on how to grow your business from some very, very successful women business owners. So my personal motto is connections, creativity, and courage. Those happen to be my core values as well. And today I'm going to share with you from 5 WBEs who are actually living their personal mottos and core values and using those to really grow their businesses, especially in the very challenging times that we have had recently. So here they are, Dr. Jacqueline Darna, Beth Viviano, Monica Hernandez, Terry Lehman, and Andrea Ruiz Hayes are the 5 that we're going to be profiling today. And then in, in a couple of months, I'll come back and profile another 5 for you. So there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. And that's by our youth poet laureate, Amanda Gorman. And I chose that quote for Dr. Jackie Darna, who always sees light and is always light. If you ever meet Dr. Jackie, you will know who she is. You'll know immediately about herself, about her company. And she is going to just bathe you in just this incredible light of joy and ambition and goal setting and all of that. So here are her 5 tips from the interview that we did with her. Number 1, she is all about branding yourself, right? She says that, people don't know who you are until you tell them who you are. And before you get a chance to tell them who you are, you can show them who you are, right? So she has always got some kind of branded item, either a shirt or a package. She wears her own wristband. And that shows that she is not only the inventor of the product, but she actually benefits from the product herself. And she tells the story of having invented this product, the Nomo Nausea wristband, because she had a severe bout of nausea after the birth of her child. And it was so severe that they were going to put her in an induced coma. And so she decided at that point that she was not willing to go that far, and then invented something and came up with this Nomo Nausea band that is found in, I think she said 20 countries around the world and stores all over the place. But branding yourself is her number 1 tip. The second tip is embrace the life of an entrepreneur. And she gave us that tip while she was being interviewed. The interview, we had set up the date, we had set up the time, and then, life happened as an entrepreneur. She'd had right before the interview an opportunity to meet with a potential client. And what she decided to do was, find some place that was as quiet as she could find and do the interview right there. And, someone in the audience said, oh, there's a lot of background noise. And so Jackie, took that statement and said, yeah, I'm embracing the life of an entrepreneur. There is background noise, but I had a choice, do the interview or not do the interview. And I chose, let's do the interview and let's, make the most of the situation. So remember that as a really great tip. It doesn't have to be perfect. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes we've got to step up and sometimes we have to, take advantage of the opportunities. Her third tip is to delegate. So, she says, Dr. Jackie is actually an anesthesiologist. Okay, that's how she was trained in anesthesiology. And she said that after she invented her product, she wanted to work, but be able to replace her income with the new business. And at that point, she would become full-time an entrepreneur. And so she's been very busy for the last 5 or 6 years, right? Growing this business while she had her practice at first and then going full-time with Nomo Nausea. And she says she's often asked, how does she manage? Because she also has a husband and 3 kids, right? And so she said, well, the easiest answer is that I delegate. And she had a really great tip about delegation. She said she looks at her cost per hour. So she values her time at X. And if she has to do something, she estimates, okay, it's going to take me an hour, it's going to take me 2 hours, it's going to take me 3 hours. And then she says, can I find someone to do that at what it would cost me to do it or below that cost? So the return on investment, meaning if she hires people to do things that someone can do almost as well as she can with some guidance, as well as she can, and have that time to do something else, to work on her business instead of in her business, it's a win-win. She helps somebody with employment, plus she gets to do something that is more relevant, if you will, for her own business. So I thought that was a really great tip. Value, look at how much time it's going to take you. How much would you charge to do that? And see if you can find someone who can take that off your plate. Her fourth tip is all about pivoting. And here she told us a really, really interesting story of how during the early days of the pandemic, she found herself really stressed. And she said she had kind of an epiphany in her bathtub because as she was looking at what the pandemic was doing to retail, and that's where her products are, is in retail stores, and people were not able to go into retail stores are closing, etc. She was faced with, oh my God, how am I going to keep my business alive? And she said she had an epiphany, and that she relied on contacts and connections that she had built through the years. So she was able to contact some people who normally were not her clients, and to say, what can we help? How can I help? I've got connections with manufacturers. I've got connections with hospitals. I've got connections with XYZ. How can I help you? And she said doing that landed her some really important contracts that would not have been her contracts because they didn't purchase what she sold, but she was able to create some connections. And so I thought that was a really great example of how to pivot by basically taking a breath, right? And saying, who do I know and how can I connect people? And that leads to tip number 5, which is the creating strategic alliances, which is how she really was able to turn that very stressful and difficult time to her advantage. So she created some strategic alliances around the country with WBEs from WeBank that she had met. They manufactured, she sold, she did this, they did that, and they, together were able to provide service to clients old and new. So those are her 5 tips. This quote, "We cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust our sails," is from one of my favorite people in the world. I love Dolly Parton, and I aspire someday to go to Dollywood so that I can really, really immerse myself in all things Dolly Parton. And I chose this quote for our next winning strategy interview, which was with Beth Viviano of Corporate Fitness Works. Beth has adjusted lots of sales this past year, and she's done so with grace and ease and a lot of mastery. And so her 5 tips are: first, know your clients. So Corporate Fitness Works has been around for many years. Beth actually bought the company from another woman-owned business that was certified. And the client base of Corporate Fitness Works is corporate. Okay, what Corporate Fitness Works does is basically 3 things. They set up your corporate fitness centers. They'll manage the equipment, and they will staff those centers. So they had a really good, solid business model that was really corporate based, right? And then the pandemic hit. And as we all know, what happened? People started working from home. So those fitness centers were not being used, the fitness centers in the corporations. And she had a bunch of trainers who could not go into the fitness centers to do the training. So knowing her clients, she looked one step further, right? So we always say that your target market can be your clients, but it should also be your clients' clients, right? And in the sense, her corporate client, their clients were their employees. So she decided with her team that one way to address this need, this gap that they now had, was to start to offer service virtually. And so they created an app, and they started offering, Corporate Fitness Works started offering virtual training. And Beth shared with us that this new model allowed her to look at a different client base. Her original client base was corporate, big business, but now, because she was able to provide her services virtually, she could look at smaller businesses too. So it opened up some new opportunities for her. The second tip is sponsoring events. So Corporate Fitness Works is a big sponsor at the WBEs national events, and that has brought all kinds of recognition to Beth, not only from WBEs, which is really important, not only from the corporations that sponsor WBEs, which is really important, but from the employees of those corporations, right? So she had challenges at the national events, and there's some pretty stiff competition with the leaderboards, and there was a really nice prize. And so her sponsorship spoke directly to the type of business she is, and what they value, which is fitness, right? So you always want to see if you can sponsor an event as a business owner. And, don't be put off by the word sponsor. There are sponsorships sometimes that start at $500 or at $2,500, right? Obviously, the bigger your sponsorship, the more of a spotlight you're in. But any sponsor within an event will generally get you into the VIP sessions that they do for their sponsors, and a way for you to be rubbing elbows with the really big sponsors. That's a way for you to do that. Her third tip is getting out of your comfort zone. And so we kind of talked about that. Corporate Fitness Works went from in-person, in building, in location to virtual. And that was a little bit out of their comfort zone, but she told the story of how she was able to get the support of her team, and the buy-in for them to do that. Her fourth tip, vision boards, comes from a question that we asked about, what was the most creative thing you did over the course of the past year? And Beth mentioned that she had attended in January my vision board class, and that she had really gotten a lot of good ideas and important information from the exercises that we did leading up to the creation of the vision board. So I love this tip because it's all about creativity, and it's all about looking at things a bit differently. So if you haven't attended one of our vision board classes, be sure to be on the lookout, because those are really a lot of fun. And then her fifth tip is a really, really important one about maintaining relationships after a rejection. And she tells the story of how Corporate Fitness Works bid on a contract. They put a lot of work and effort into this contract, and ultimately it was awarded to someone else. And it was awarded to someone else based on price. Corporate Fitness Works came in at a higher price. The corporation went in with the proposal that was at a lower price. And guess what? A couple of months or less than a year later, or about a year later, the corporation came back and asked her to fulfill that contract, because the other person who had won the contract was not able to to fulfill the contract, primarily probably because of the price, right? And so because Beth had maintained really great relationship, even after this rejection, they came back and she got the contract. So the lesson here is, even if you get a no, it doesn't mean a never. You can still maintain the relationship so that, you know, when the opportunity shows up, you will get contacted again. So this quote, when you embrace your difference, your DNA, your look, or your heritage, or your religion, or your unusual name, that's when you start to shine. And this is by Bethany Frankel. And I chose this quote for Monica Hernandez of Mass Global Consulting. Monica is an immigrant with ties to the US and Colombia, and now 7 different countries where she operates. And her tips were amazing. First, she said, work on your business, not in your business. And, you know, if you've ever heard me speak, you know, I love to talk about the difference between working on your business as opposed to in your business. I like to talk about the Lori Richards, who was interviewed by Simon Sinek in his great book, The Infinite Game, who said that the key to her leadership is that leaders look up and out and they hire people to look down and in. So that's what Monica was all about. And she said it's made a really big difference in her company. Her second tip is negotiate. And she told a really nice story here about how she won a major contract. So she had an existing contract with a corporation. And at the start of the pandemic, they came back and they said, you know what, we need to renegotiate this contract and we need you to cut 25%. And so she said she was, you know, quite taken aback. But she stepped up and she said, okay, you'll be hearing back from us within a week. So she goes back to her team and she says, okay, we have to cut 25%. And they're trying back and forth. How are they going to cut the 25%? Well, they were able to shave 20%, right? And she said, so I negotiated. I went back to this corporation and I said, I cannot do this contract at 25%. I can do it at 20%. And here's why it cannot be done at 25%. And she knew that this corporation, this project was all about quality and end service users. So again, just like we spoke about knowing your clients and the clients of your clients, she knew, and so she was able to show them that a 25% reduction was going to affect the end user. You know, compromise what this corporation was ultimately trying to do. So, and they said, okay. And so she was able to negotiate. Now, had she, you know, followed her first reaction was, there's no way I can shave 25% off this contract and I'm not even going to bid, she would not have had this opportunity, which she leveraged to get even more business. So I think this is a really smart tip about negotiating. You can always go back and make the case for why you're asking for a specific price. Her third tip is all about joining associations. And, you know, there again, you want to join associations for context, learning, and for contacts, right? And potential contracts. Her fourth tip, getting a board of advisors, she said, is really, really important because as your business grows, you need an objective set of eyes who are going to help you. As a business owner, you are in charge of hiring and firing, right? So sometimes your team may not tell you everything because it may hurt them, right? And so having a board of advisors who can say, wait, our goal is this. How does what you're proposing now fit into the overall goal? So she said that it has helped her tremendously. to have an objective group of advisors who she can count on, not only for advice on contracts, but advice on employees, advice on community outreach, all sorts of things. And you are never too small to have a board of advisors. The bigger you grow, you can offer compensation to your board of advisors. But at early days, you could just have a team of advisors who believe in you and your product and want to help you. Her fifth tip is all about authenticity, and it's something she learned from her board of advisors, she said. So at one point, you know, the business was undergoing some change, and she was very concerned of how this was going to be affecting her global business, as well as, you know, her staff. And one of her board members said, "Why don't you just tell your staff what's going on?" And she said, no, you know, she hesitated because she said, well, you know, I really don't want to reveal that we're facing these challenges. And her board member very astutely and wisely said to her, they probably know, and it's better for you to set the record straight and to let them know that you have a plan of action. That will reduce stress, that will build trust and confidence. And she said it was some of the best advice she had ever received. So this tip about being authentic is one that you can employ. The next quote, I have stood on a mountain of no's for one yes, and I have chosen that quote for Terry Lehman of True Green Enterprises. And Terry has had her share of no's, as she told us during her interview. And she has climbed many mountains to spread the news about her passion, which is sustainability. And here are her 5 tips. Number 1, to be creative. And she said she started her business because she wanted to reduce her carbon footprint. And with that passion in mind, she retired from the corporate world. And with that passion in mind, she decided, okay, I'm really passionate about sustainability. And what can I do to create a business that promotes sustainability? That's how she came up with True Green Enterprises. And they produce treeless paper products. Her second tip is to invest in research and marketing. And so she shared with us how she had wanted to do business with Disney. She met with Disney originally at a Go for the Greens conference, and they weren't convinced that she was A, big enough, or B, you know, able, or that they needed her products. So she got really creative, and she went all over Disney World and Disneyland, and she started collecting paper products. So she collected napkins and some toilet tissue. She collected straws, and she had a meeting with some key people at Disney, and she laid out their products and she laid out her products, and she invited them to just kind of look and touch, right? See what there is. And she said, can you tell the difference? And they weren't able to really see a difference between the products they were already buying and her products. And she said, there's a big difference. Mine are sustainable. Those are not. And I know that Disney has a huge sustainability initiative. So she was able, because she invested time and research and marketing, to really make the case, and she landed a Disney contract. Her third tip is all about industry expertise. So if you are in an industry that requires some expertise, some explanation, you should really set yourself up. You should always set yourself up as an expert, but especially if you're a manufacturing company or doing something that has some technical jargon or whatever. So the way she set herself up as an industry expert is she goes around speaking, and on her website, there is a short video that explains the process of how she does what she does. And she says that has served to really break the ice and to set her up as an expert. Her fourth tip, and I have this with an exclamation point, yoga, is that she started doing yoga with her employees during the pandemic twice a week. So she said, as she has a yoga instructor that comes in for an hour on, I think she said Tuesdays and Thursdays. But in any case, a yoga instructor comes in for an hour and everything stops. Everybody pulls out their mats, they do their yoga, and then they do a short meditation after the shavasana of the yoga. And she said at first there was resistance, but now people are counting down to 11 o'clock in the mornings on Tuesdays and Thursdays when they know that they're going to have an hour for yoga. So this is a really great tip on how you can help your employees manage stress. And obviously that really affects your bottom line. And then number 5, using your network to grow. She landed her original contract with CVS based on an introduction from a fellow WBE. So she got to know this WBE, told the WBE, you know, I'm really looking for an introduction to someone at CVS. Do you know anybody? The WBE said, yes, I do. She introduced Terry, and wow, CVS has become one of her largest customers. So using your network to grow is her 5th tip. And then this quote, as you grow older, you will discover that you have 2 hands. One for helping yourself, the other for helping others. And that's attributed to Audrey Hepburn. And I am giving that quote to Andrea Ruiz Hayes of Echo Strategic Consulting Services. Helping others is in Andrea's DNA. She worked for years at Disney and saw that corporate social responsibility is great. But she said small business social responsibility has even more far-reaching effects. And so she left Disney, started this company, Echo Strategic Consulting Services. And here are her 5 tips. Number 1 is enter every pitch competition that you can get into. So WeBank had a pitch competition. Andrea was new at this. She said, I was scared, but I did it. And she went from being one of 100 who submitted a 1-minute video to being selected to 25 who got to submit a 2-minute video. And then she ended up in the top 10. And it was a live presentation. She got 4 minutes and got to answer some questions from the corporate judges. And she said it has made all the difference to her business. And I really suggest that you consider entering pitch competitions, because even if you don't win, you get noticed by a whole lot of people. Her second tip is all about the importance of social responsibility, right? So she shared with us how at early days of the pandemic, she started making masks. And this one is tied into her tip number 5, which is all about community service and how you can get your name out there by doing something that benefits not only you, but benefits your community, right? Her third tip, break down your big vision so you can get to your big goal, is a very practical tip. Sometimes we set a huge vision for ourselves and we get upset, distracted, disappointed when we don't reach that big vision. But if we break the goal into smaller, measurable, bite-sized goals that we can celebrate along the way, it makes a really big difference. And then her 4th tip is take all the training and classes you can. And earlier, we mentioned about the Dorothy Brothers Scholarship from WeBank for their executive level programs. So you really do want to take advantage of training and classes. So here's the strategy recap. I promised you 25 tips, and here they are. Brand yourself, embrace the life of an entrepreneur, delegate, pivot, create strategic alliances, know your clients, sponsor events, get out of your comfort zone, do vision boards, keep up relationships after a rejection, work on your business, not in your business, negotiate, and always remember that you have that option, join associations, create a board of advisors for your company, be authentic, be creative, invest as much as you can in research and marketing, showcase your industry expertise, consider doing something to help your employees like yoga. Use your network to grow. People love to offer support, and sometimes we're afraid to ask for help, but people always are flattered and honored that you ask for help. So use your network to grow. Enter pitch competitions. Remember the importance of social responsibility and how you can shift that back to your own business. Break down your big vision so you can get to your big goal. Take all the training and classes, and always remember community service. The more you give, the more you get. Okay, so what's next? What is one thing you can do this week of that list of 25 things, right? What are 4 things you can do this month, 1 a week? And what are 12 things you can do this quarter? And I am going to invite you to challenge yourself, and then let us know what's the one thing. What are the 4 things? What are the 12 things? And so this is just a recap of this is who we are. Johanna did a really nice job of explaining. We are the Women's Business Development Council, and we have 3 banners in which we operate. Most of you know us through WBEs Florida, which is all things certification. The growth shift is all things business development, whether you're starting out, you're on the growth path, or you're looking to exit your business. And then Nancy G. Allen is all about being the CEO of you. And we invite you to take advantage of all of our programming. My team and I are here to help. We're here to answer any questions, and our goal is to make you as successful as possible. So count on us and call on us too. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen in case there are questions. And I myself had a blast going back and listening to all of these the interviews, and I chose to highlight 5 things, but I swear there were at least 10 things from everyone we interviewed. So this list could have been twice as long. And do yourself a favor and listen to these incredible women tell their stories. And I think that the thing to remember is they are no different than you. We are all alike when it comes to our passion for business, right? Some of us are a little more expert, and we like to help the novices in the group. And these women were excellent at doing that.
Yes, and we're getting comments still. Outstanding session, kudos. So thank you all again for your nice comments and for joining us this week. And we look forward to seeing you next week on the Wednesday window.
Bye, everyone.